Hi there. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ben and I'm a customer success manager here at Clientshare. So the purpose of the video today is to give you a whistle-stop tour on how you can create a pulse and basically the steps that you need to take in order to complete and send that as well. Now from my screen, basically this is what the workflow will look like as you create a pulse. So when you log in, you'll see your specific client account on the left hand side here, and then you choose create review and this will open that workflow for your pulse. Now for the first step, this is where you give the review a name, and as you enter each step of the way, you will need to choose this update option. So as you choose update, this allows you to save your work and come back at a later date as well if you wanted to start a draft and complete it at a later stage. Now the next one is to choose the review type. So here you have a few options. This can be if it's a follow-up to a review that has taken place, and this can be sent in advance of a review if you want to send collateral and give people a bit of notice before the review takes place, or you can actually use Pulse as the review tool itself. Now in this case I'm going to say the review has happened, and then I choose that it's taken place as a face-to-face review. The next one then is to assign when that review took place. For your introductory message, this basically acts similar to an email follow-up. So it allows you to customize that content and basically add anything that was relevant that may have been mentioned in the meeting, but it's also an opportunity to highlight things for people who may not have been able to attend it as well. So as I mentioned, you can customize this and make it as personable as possible, just so you can encourage your client to give you that valuable feedback. As well as an introductory message, you can assign a video to this as well. Now, if you have a pre-recorded video, you can choose to upload that directly from your dash on the left-hand side. But you can also record a video on the fly and incorporate this into the workflow as you create your pulse as well. So once you're happy that you've basically filled in those details, you can choose update and move on to the next stage. Now the next one is basically content. So content allows you to highlight any success stories or anything that adds higher value to your client, and you can include that in this pulse as well. Now the example that I'm using here is the actual deck that was presented in the review. So you can give it a description and then you can upload that by choosing the drag and drop choose file option here. So I've uploaded a PDF just for the file size limit as well. But you can also link externally. So you can add recent case studies, on-site visits, anything that showcases value to your client. So you can add a URL or a link there as well. Once your client receives this pulse, they can then click on those links and that will redirect them to those content pieces. The next one then is to actually add recipients. So we really encourage you to add as many key stakeholders or recipients that you feel are relevant to receive the pulse, as the more feedback that you get, the more accurate that representation will be of your relationship with the client. So if you choose add recipients, you'll be able to see any pre-populated recipients that you've added to your client account. So you can choose simply by clicking on the text box next to their name, and then that will add them as a recipient to the pulse. We generally recommend sending this to at least 5 recipients in terms of best practice, just to make sure the feedback that you're getting is relevant across the board for all of your key stakeholders. One of the final steps along this workflow is actions. Now you don't necessarily have to use actions if you're using an external action tracker, but this just means that you can encompass this into your general workflow and also hold accountability for anything that may have been agreed within the meeting. So in this case, I've just assigned an action to myself, as well as when that due date is set for the action. This will then send me a notification or an email event, so to remind me to complete that action closer to the date as well. And the final step is to make sure that you make this review mandatory. You want to make sure that as the client is walking through the workflow on this pulse, that they actually submit that feedback and you get that valuable information back from your client as well. You also have an option to preview at the very end, and this just makes or basically ensures that you can check everything is correct prior to you sending that review.